Hour 2 Overdrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Raptors back in action tonight in Indiana. We got NBA games, NHL games tonight, a 3-pack of NFL games tomorrow, a Black Friday game on Friday. Amazon's paid a fortune for that.
Did I see $100 million?
I thought I saw that.
Is that accurate?
It can't be just for that game.
For one game?
Yeah, it cannot be $100 million for one game. Maybe it is. I mean, it is the NFL, but that seems...
Someone's got to check that. I thought I saw $100 million for one game.
For one game.
On Friday, right?
Yeah, because and they have, it's the standalone, it's Black Friday, it's obviously about them trying to get people to go to their site as opposed to go into the stores. Like, it's a marketing thing.
JP and Horvat, look into that. It can't be for one game.
$100 million for one NFL game. Like a Super Bowl, though, would cost a lot more than that. I would think. Like,
how much more could it cost?
How much are you making if you have a Super Bowl? Like if you're CBS or ESPN or whatever, I mean, you're selling 30-second ads for like $10 million.
Yeah,
you'd be making a fortune. Now it would cost a lot to put on, but I don't know. Look that up. Yeah, see what you can find out, Chris. Because I thought I saw something on that earlier, but I thought.
Oh, he's saying Horvat's shaking his head. Yes.
Horvat has confirmed.
He's confirmed it.
He just shakes his head now. He's just, yes. He's very zen back there. I like it.
$100 million for
$100 million for the game. Now, I would assume this will be every year they're going to do this, or they're going to try to do this.
John Rahm could put on 6 of those games.
Yeah, that's the rumor that John Rahm's going to get $600 million to go to live, which I find preposterous. You're telling me Koepka was like 125 and Rahm 600? Well, no chance.
Has that been out there that he has said yes? Because that would get anyone to say yes.
Of course.
Who's not taking 600 sheets?
You know who's putting it out there? Phil Mickelson.
Yeah.
That's where the rumors started. Like Phil's telling people.
Well, that's not where the rumors started. There's been a number of people online, but I guess Alan Shipnuck, who somehow is hated by everyone in golf but always has scoops.
Oh, yeah.
Shipnuck is saying that I guess the last couple of days, Mickelson has been telling people.
Yeah.
Yes, that Rahm, the deal is all but done. But...
Because they're boys, those two.
Yes, they're boys. They have the same agent. They're both down in Arizona. Phil might be in California, but like Ron, I think they went to the same school. Mickelson's brother maybe was his coach at like Arizona State or something like that. But yeah, outside of Tiger and McIlroy, like I just find it hard to believe that anyone's worth $600 million. But like Rahm is a needle pusher if you're a big golf fan for sure. But he's nowhere close to McIlroy or
You don't think
Tiger.
He's not close to McIlroy?
No, not in terms of a brand.
Drawing a crowd?
I don't think so.
That?
I think McIlroy's on it completely. I think he's in the same vein as like a Justin Thomas. And Koepka.
I think
he's higher than JT.
Now, he's right there with anybody in golf. That guy was dominant last year. He won like 4 out of 6 times to start the season last year.
So did Scotty Scheffler, though. Do you think Scheffler is more of a needle pusher than John Rahm? He's American.
I think
I would say he'd be more important than...
Scotty Scheffler is a needle pusher with his play, but just because of the guy that he is, where he's ho-hum, Mr. Nice American boy, it's like nobody cares to watch him because he's so ho-hum. But his golf itself... That is on the same level.
Absolutely.
It's just the personality that's not.
Right.
The John Rahm thing with Liv makes a lot of sense just based on his kind of disposition. Like, he's a snap show. He's grumpy. He's swearing all the time. Like, I don't know. I could see him just going to Liv and being like the face of Liv. And
what
he's
I don't understand
also very
is
good.
This is coming off of like 3 to 4 months ago. Monahan saying we're merging and everyone's going to be happy and play together. That's what I do not understand about if this thing happens with Rahm.
That's what I don't get either. And that would lead me to believe that deal is going to break off.
That's exactly right. That's just never happening and never was.
Right. It was. They tried it. They tried to settle everything down, and now it's broken off again, and Liv's going to come raring back to the table. And if so, maybe they're looking at Rahm. A lot of European players have flipped. He may go. It sounds like Cantlay may go. I guess Cantlay's got all these things going on with him right now. But Cantlay's another guy. Like,
is he bringing the caddy?
Yeah. Well, he's gonna play slow, and like Cantlay's a great player, but I don't think he's a guy that people are like, I got to go watch him on Live Golf.
No, he's gonna play 56 holes in the time that it takes to play 72.
Yeah. Generally speaking, that will be the case.
Yeah.
And very good player. Rahm's a great player. I love watching Rahm. I'm a big golf fan. I just don't know if Liv like $600 million. Like, how do you justify that number?
Well, they
for
haven't-
anyone not named Tiger Woods. They gave Phil Mickelson $200 million.
Well, and they haven't had a big recruit in a while, right? Like once they had the big recruits, it was like, okay, I don't know, I can't remember, but there's this guy, that guy. No one really moved the needle, and this could be the big one for them.
Right.
Would you be more inclined to watch Liv with John Rahm there?
No, I don't see myself getting into Live Golf is just so far off my radar. I just don't. I can't. It doesn't feel like they care. And if it's $600 million and that's the reason he's going, again, that's not going to sell me on it. Like when someone goes to Live because they're like, I really want to win there, fine. But you can't attach $600 million if that's the number and express to me that this is really exciting for you.
$600 million is for guys like Koepka and Rahm who have won their majors, and they're just like, you want to give me that kind of money, I can't say no to
Exactly.
it. And I'm done.
And I'll go do what I'm going to do in shorts with music on, and I'll show up at the majors and still win.
And there's three or four guys that the world golf's ranking points, they don't matter to because they're in all the tournaments anyways. It's really, there's a handful of guys that it doesn't matter.
Well, and that's why Rahm, he got his green jacket, so he's good for life.
Yeah.
He got it. So he can go to the Masters for the next 50 years. And, we'll see. We'll see if Gerry's got anything on this in about a half an hour.
I bet he does.
The Hayes and Bro hats have arrived. They will be worn. They will be debuted in about an hour. Luke Wilson coming up. Al's brother coming up. But here's Darren Dreger, our TSN hockey insider, joining us here on the Maple Toyota hotline. How you doing, Dregs?
I'm doing okay. I'm listening to your segment. I'm thinking each one of you guys has a number.
Yes. Yes, we do.
Whatever it is, I'm going to go because I want to get the best ratings in the market in North America. And if that number is X dollars, that makes it even more enticing. Everybody has a number. Yes. Golfers, hockey players, pro athletes, and radio people.
That's very true. That's true. And it's not as high as you might think it is, Dregs. It's not as high as you might think it is, but I'll sell
Getting lower every year.
It absolutely could be. And we're selling. Hey, we're here for, good times and ratings and getting everyone involved in the program. Yes. So good to have you here. And it's kind of a weird time. Like Frankie and I were talking earlier that, we're waiting on Patrick Kane, but we don't know if there's a timeline on that. Calgary was like, well, they could be trading Tanev and Zadorov, and Edmonton needs a goalie. But it seems kind of quiet right now. Like, where's your head at, Dregs, in terms of, where your main – when you wake up in the morning, you're like, all right, this is a team I'm focused on right now because something could be happening.
A little bit of that, but it's the same old for me, to be fair. And every year we get duped by it, right? Like U.S. Thanksgiving, that's when things really start to roll. Well, yes and no. I mean, the reason U.S. Thanksgiving is kind of tabbed is because, you're basically 20 games in and you know where you're at, you know what you have, you know what you need. And so, and you're also coming off the heels of the general managers meeting at the Hall of Fame. So they've had their face-to-face discussions. What amplified it was Dan Milstein, the agent for Zadorov, when the Calgary Flames made their trek through Toronto, Hall of Fame game on TSN. And after that game, which the Flames played pretty well, all of a sudden news breaks that this guy wants out. He's asked for a trade. There are many out there, those teams with interest and those teams that are just intrigued by it, that say, look, Toronto is always that. Teams that drift through Toronto, they want to use the mass media to amplify the noise as loud as they can get it. The problem is, if you're Craig Conroy and the Calgary Flames, are you really going to trade Zadorov, Chris Tanev, or Noah Hanifin, like three really good defense, unless somebody's willing to overpay? And the hard answer to that is no. It stirs up the conversation, but the Toronto Maple Leafs haven't bucked up to a point where they're willing to offer X player or throw a sweetener or do whatever they have to do to make them the money work, first and foremost, to get Tanev or Zadorov. So you're kind of stalled in that situation. And, the Oilers are kind of in a similar predicament, not to the Maple Leafs. I mean, Toronto's in a different stratosphere right now in terms of the standings. What does Holland do in Edmonton? Can he acquire a goaltender without trying to force Jack Campbell's contract as part of that equation going out? And if the answer to that is no, he can't, then what's he willing to pay the team that's willing to make the trade to take Jack Campbell's contract? And do you need a third team involved in that process? So that's all the speculation and the stuff that keeps guys like me awake at night, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen anytime soon.
Dregs, I don't think the Oilers have a choice. Like, I think it's the last thing and the only chance to save this season. Because, like you said, we're at American Thanksgiving, and they could do it. They could be unreal the rest of the way, but they have got to change the momentum. And Noodles gets mad at me when I say it's goaltending alone, which it's not. But you got to have a guy back there that can give you a chance. Like, sometimes you screw up and you need a goalie to make a save. You don't want him to be doing it 5 times a game, but you need a guy back there for that one error a night or two to make that save. It'll just give them so much more confidence. They have no choice. They have to do it.
Well, and it breeds confidence, especially into your defense, right? Like, how does Evan Bouchard go from a guy last year who was playing with Matthias Ekholm and looked like this kid was kind of a star in the making, right? As a blue liner, his offense was there. We know he's got the big shot, but defensively he was kind of settling in because he had the safety valve in Matthias Ekholm, and this year he's clueless, especially defensively, right? So I tend to agree. I believe that Kenny Holland has had real hard trade conversations with teams. I think St. Louis among them. And the Binnington stuff has been reported, speculated on. The problem that Holland has, and I don't know, maybe we don't understand it because we don't have the managing resume that Ken Holland does, or the responsibility of leaving the team a better place than maybe when he found it. He's in the expiring year of his contract. He's not coming back as general manager in Edmonton. So, yeah, he could make that goalie trade, but to force Jack Campbell's contract into that, or to make the money work, because it has to be dollar in, dollar out in Edmonton, he's got to give up a first-round draft pick or Xavier Bourgault or a piece that he just feels, in my opinion, he doesn't want to give up, because then that scraps the next GM and maybe the guy after him 3, 4, 5 years down the road. So I get it. I don't think I'd be as responsible as Holland appears that he has to be. I'd be looking at Mackenzie Blackwood in San Jose. I'd be looking at every goalie option there is, and I'm sure he is, but I hear what you're saying. I feel like a deal has to get done sooner than later in Edmonton.
Yeah, and I think on top of just giving confidence, let's face it, they've dug themselves such a hole. They need a guy to steal a bunch of games to make the playoffs. Like, in reality, if you play 65 more times, you're going to need 7 or 8 games where the guy makes 40 stops, and you're like, he won us the game.
Yes.
Because that's the nature of the sport over the course of, a long season.
And if it stays status quo, Hayes, they have zero chance.
Zero chance. And like the Campbell thing is so complicated because Holland gave him the deal. And I'm sure Ken Holland was hoping you send him to the minors, he resets, maybe he comes alive. It's even worse. He's a mess down in the minors. So
he got a shutout last night.
Well, there you go. He got himself a shutout. All right, he's back on the he's off the schneid, and he's back making his way towards Edmonton. But I think as you translate or transition into Toronto, where Brad Treliving's dealing with that to an extent with John Klingberg, at least that was only a 1-year deal. Like and I'm not saying that they're going to trade him. I don't think he could be traded right now because he can't even play. But like the Klingberg situation seems to be hanging over the Maple Leafs and anything they could possibly do in the future. Is that how you see it, Dregs, at $4.1 million?
I do, and I'm curious to see, if it were as simple as Brad Treliving has a deal to improve his defense. Maybe it's Zadorov, maybe it's Tanev, whoever. Just come up with that player. I mean, we're focused on Calgary because we know that those trade negotiations have happened, and I'm sure they're ongoing, right? The relationship between Conroy and Treliving, we get it. If it were that close, I feel like the Leafs would push on Klingberg. So I think he got hurt in that October 19th game against Florida, and he tweaked something. He aggravated something in his hip. And he played through it, played in the alumni game, or the Hall of Fame game against the Flames on that Friday. He missed that game, right?
Right, played the next night against Vancouver.
Yes, and that was a surprise to everyone, including the Leafs, to be fair, that he played in that game on Saturday. Because the thinking was he was going to rest, see if things settled down with treatment, and then he'd be able to go in Sweden. Well, he plays that game, and he's not able to go in Sweden. So automatically you start thinking about, okay, this guy is cruising for LTIR. right? 10 games, 24 days. That's what he's cruising for. But they haven't pulled the trigger on that yet. And I'm thinking that's because they don't have a deal close, or they're still waiting for some further medical evidence. Maybe they're, again, waiting for this aggravation to settle down and see where it's at. But I don't know, guys. Without being deeply involved in what the Leafs are up to, doesn't it kind of feel like this is a situation that is going to continue to linger with a player until they find a way to make that player more or less disappear?
Yes.
Otherwise, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, again, if my dating is correct on this, and we're going back to mid-October, well, that's several weeks ago, and it obviously hasn't settled down. So, look, injuries can linger, and with time off, he can get better. So I'm not locking myself in here. It just feels like LTI is going to be more likely than not, unless he magically resurfaces in the near future.
What is your gut instinct telling you about the future of Ryan Reaves? Because he's been out of the lineup now for a full trip. Like, they went to Sweden and back.
Yeah.
He didn't play.
Yeah.
And there's no reason why he would play on Friday. Like, I would keep Bobby McMahon in the lineup, and I think they anticipate
They haven't
doing
lost.
that. They haven't lost.
Yeah.
So, like, how long does it go before it's like, this is getting awkward, man? This guy got a 3-year deal. You know, he's a big personality, speaking with the media all the time, and he just doesn't appear close to be playing. And I'm curious where you stand on that and what the future of Ryan Reaves could look like.
Well, I think you kind of nailed it, Brian. Like, how do you put him back into the lineup the way that McMahon is playing right now? I just don't think you can. He's younger. He gets on the forecheck quicker than Ryan Reaves is capable of getting. And I don't think you lose a whole bunch in the physicality department either. I mean, look, we're all fans of Ryan Reaves. I mean, he's got a history in the sport. He's got that big, bombastic personality. I'm sure he's a hell of a teammate, and he's good in the room, and he's good on the bench. But the Maple Leafs need more than that from a fourth line. They do. They need guys who can play. And in Reaves' case, unfortunately, where he's at, he struggles to get in on the forecheck and complete that hit, which maybe, erupts into something else. So, it's either reactionary for Ryan Reaves or it's not happening physically. And unfortunately, bad luck has followed this guy in a Maple Leafs uniform. He steps on the ice, and the puck almost automatically ends up in the Leafs end and often in the net. So it's going to be a problem for them. The 3-year term is an issue. Obviously, it's an issue. The cap hit isn't as much. I'm sure that they can find a way to make it go away if they feel like that's what they have to do. But he's still a good option to have around. And I don't get the sense around the Maple Leafs that they're jonesing to get rid of him at this point.
Dregs, what would be the latest on Patrick Kane and where he's going to sign and who's a front runner in that? It's been a little while now since we had like a concrete update or who he's meeting with.
Yeah.
Like, I think there was talk, like, could it happen over the weekend? Could it happen early in the week? And now here we are.
Yeah, and here we are is U.S. Thanksgiving week, right? And, Patty Kane and his family are probably enjoying all that goes into that. It was hoped by everybody involved that it would have been decided by now. But now that we're Wednesday drifting into U.S. Thanksgiving, it's starting to look like maybe it goes through the weekend. As I report on an Insider Trading, there's still multiple teams involved. And it's hard to pinpoint who a front runner would be at this point, because I think that Kane and his family are also looking at options. I'm sure there are options from contending teams that are for the rest of this year at minimal dollars. See how he responds to the surgery. Some players haven't responded well to it. Everybody keeps talking about how good he feels and how good he looks, but you need to see that in NHL games, and then you need to see it over a course of time. If he has a strong year and he has a strong playoff, well, then he probably opens himself up to a 2-year deal, maybe even a 3-year deal after this year. So I think he's contemplating a number of things. But as I said, Pat Brisson, I believe, is in Denver today, and I think he's meeting with Nate McKinnon and the clients that he has in Denver. So if it doesn't happen at some point today, and I don't think it will, then we're probably looking at early next week. But, I can't really identify 1 or 2 teams. I think that'd be unfair. There were 7 or 8 when we started the week last week.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what he's got. Like he's still, he's got the aura around him. He's Patrick Kane. That's never going to leave.
Yeah.
And he's not trying to make a comeback at 40 or 41.
No.
He's not in his prime. He won't be. I don't think he'll be play at a superstar level, but that's a game changer, man. And you don't have to give up assets. Like if you get him on a good price, and you don't have to pay picks and prospects.
That's
to
what
get
it
him.
is.
That's going to be the curious
price.
thing, though. Like, is he going to go all Kobe Bryant and say, "Don't even think that this is some bargain basement deal"?
Maybe, and that might be what's holding it up too. It could be. And look, for clarity, guys, because there's been reporting that no meeting happened. There's been reporting that there have been meetings. All of that. I can't tell you who was on this Zoom call, but I do know that there was a Zoom call with the Maple Leafs, and it involved Patrick Kane, and it involved Pat Brisson, and it involved some of the brass of the Toronto Maple Leafs. But this is just typical of Brad Treliving, whether he was on the call or not, doesn't matter, of how he does business. And I'm not being critical. Why wouldn't you at least participate? Find out. I don't know how the Maple Leafs could make that work. I'm not sure that he'd be a big help given what they have. But if he's willing to come into Toronto or any contending team for that matter for very little for the rest of the year, we at least have to think about it. But I honestly don't think Toronto is. I think we know where their focus has to be, and that's on the backside.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Dregs, we'll leave it there. Thank you for doing this.
Hey, guys. Have a great week.
Darren Dreger, a TSN Hockey Insider, joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Build your next dream Toyota at Maple Toyota and check out Maple Toyota's pre-owned inventory arriving daily. It's time to Toyota. Visit mapletoyota.com.
I would do that completely different, although you have to do the agent management type things, but I would have the players take them out to dinner. Like the guys in Toronto, and I know they were in Sweden, and I'd take them out to dinner and just say, "This is what we got. This is what we're trying to do. What do you think?"
Yeah, and I guess if you're doing that, though, you really are wanting the player, right? Like I would assume you're not going to waste your own players' time, Matthews and Tavares, and say take them out, wine them, and dine them.
Okay, then just Austin Matthews. They're probably boys anyway. They're both Americans. Let's go grab some dinner.
Right, but again, what I'm saying is I'm not sure the Leafs are the Leafs just doing due diligence, or do they actually want them? Are they checking in to say like, hey, how you feeling? What's going on here? Or you know what I'm saying? Like, because that's Brad Treliving's always got that rep. He calls about everyone. Well, you can't want everyone. You can't have everyone.
It would be a luxury for them. Having a player like that,
that's all it is.
Like,
it's not necessary.
It would be a luxury for them, but they really need to focus on the defensive side. They really need a defenseman. They needed a defenseman when they had everyone healthy. They probably need two guys now.
Well, yeah, maybe Connor Timmins will make his season debut on Friday, but he's not great defensively, and he's had injury history.
He's catching up, man. Like, call it what it is. He's
Who
playing
was the last
catch-up
great
right now.
defensive? And we got maybe it was Frankie, not sure. Who was the last great defenseman? Like where you said that guy is so money in his own zone.
Buddy, I was such a liability. It's not even funny. Afraid
That's why
to
Babs
make a
scratched
mistake.
you 80 times in a row.
Yeah, I deserved it.
Well, I'd say Luke Shen was a good acquisition. He had a great playoff.
Ron Hainsey was
I know,
good
but
for
he
the
wasn't
team.
like great defensively. Like Luke Shen got caved in his own end a lot. If he had to, like,
Not
if
in the
it was
playoffs.
like
in the playoffs, he was that was their best pair. Riley and Shen was their best pair, like significantly.
I liked your answer on the quiz, with Chris Tanev, like the Chris Tanev versus Zadorov. Zadorov makes sense because he's like that big, strong, physical guy, but I don't know, man. Morgan Riley still has not played with like a legit right-hand shot defenseman in his tenure here, which is crazy to me.
yeah, and
Crazy
as big
to
and
me.
tough as Zadorov is, and I've become a bit of a nerd breaking down people's games because you just watch so much, you see some things. There's warts in Zadorov's games too. Don't kid yourself.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
a third-pairing guy.
Yeah, he flies around and he gets caught out of position. And sometimes goals go in the Calgary net, and guess what number you see digging the thing out of the net? 16.
Well,
Yeah.
he plays like that game, the Hall of Fame game in Toronto. He played 15 minutes that night, and his agent is saying he's the best defenseman on the team. I'm sorry. No, he's not. He should be playing 15 minutes, maybe 17, but that's his wheelhouse, man. That's what he is. And on Toronto, he could probably be a top 4 guy because they have a need for that. But that's about it, man. That's what he is.
Yeah, no, he takes a lot of stupid penalties too, right? And he gets, like you said, caught out of position. He's like a 5. And on a really good team, he's a third pairing guy.
And Toronto would
So
welcome
that's
that
why they're
with
not going to
open
pay him a
arms.
ton either. Yeah, exactly. Like this idea that they're going to get caught up in this arms race for Zadorov. And that's why he hasn't been traded yet. Because I'm
Arms
assuming
race for Zadorov.
Yeah, there's no such thing.
What did they trade for Luke Shen? A third-round pick?
Yeah.
Okay, so you could trade a third-round pick for Zadorov.
Yeah, that's probably what they're
There you
willing to
go.
offer. He's a UFA
Right?
at the end of the year.
Yeah.
You know, maybe he sticks around, maybe he doesn't. But why would you give up anything more than that? And I would assume that's probably what the Leafs are willing to do, and 4 or 5 other teams. Like, we'll give you a pick, but it's not going to be more than that.
No, and until
Tanev will cost you more.
Yeah, and he also costs more against the cap.
Yes,
right?
you'd have to,
So
and
you have
that's
to
why
take
I
that
think it
into
would. I think
consideration.
Calgary would have to eat some of that money, and then that's going to even cost you more than that.
Yeah.
But he's also a UFA at the end of the year too.
By the way, did you see who's selling out their home game for the 4th night in a row?
Is it Florida that's doing
Yeah,
that?
it
I've heard the
is.
Panthers are starting to sell. Is that a
4
cup run?
4 sellouts in a row.
Good for them.
Sports Town.
Yeah, good for them.
Yeah,
Well, they went
big
to a cup
sports
final. I would hope you'd be able to launch that into some ticket sales the next
You know
year.
what? Those Florida Panthers, they might have discovered something last year that they got a liking for because they look good, man. Mm-hmm. They look good. And Bobrovsky seems like he's real deal again. Maybe they are real deal,
That's
and they
big,
go back
yeah.
and make another run.
And
they
you know
got a
what no one's-
belief.
they
They
got
know what it takes.
Boston
That's a good
tonight.
team.
You know what no one's talking about? Like, we've been talking about the Nylander contract here. Like, the Reinhart contract is going to be bigger than people thought. Like,
Yes.
that guy is having a monster
Having a
year.
great year.
Yeah.
But again,
Yeah.
he's a guy, he kind of plays the role of Willie on that team, like a second line guy, give or take.
Power
top
play
6.
guy, skill guy,
Yeah.
and he's going to rip you home 30 goals.
Right.
If you want to go ahead and get stupid with him, and I like the kid, I like the way he plays, but if you want to go nuts paying him, go ahead.
Well,
But
it's a pecking order. Like that team, that is Barkov and Kachuk's team. Like those are the 2 best players on that team up front. And Reinhart, again, is kind of like Willie. Now, you could argue that Marner, Willie,
and
they're
Reinhardt's
at a similar
probably
boat,
already
but-
making between 5 and 7.
Yeah, he signed a
somewhere in
long-term
there.
deal in
Yeah.
Buffalo, right? And then
Yeah.
they flipped him.
Yeah.
But Florida, Boston tonight. That'll be a good game.
They're good,
Really
man.
game.
Everyone was sleeping on Florida because
been really
like they were
good.
going to miss Ekblad and Montour to start the year.
But
I
I'm
don't know if
glad
they
you
got
brought that
through it.
kid up, Frankie. It's Reinhart. It's like, why isn't Reinhart like he doesn't like Nylander and then Nylander's here and then Reinhardt's nowhere. Why
Right.
isn't anyone talking about Reinhardt's
I don't know, like
contract?
what was the Reinhart deal going to be going into the season, and what is it now? You know, like,
Yeah, where's that article?
Right.
Let's get some rival GMs on here to talk about Reinhart.
yeah.
He's got what does he have? 25 points. Willie's got 27.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're both going to be UFAs, and Reinhardt is 28. Willie's, what, 27?
Let's get Stevie
it's a very
Goldstein
similar
on.
situation.
Yeah.
We'll get Goldie on ice on, and he'll tell us all about like where it was at the start of the season and where he is now.
Yeah.
Goldie
Yeah.
will know.
You're right.
Maybe
though.
they're at 12 million for Reinhart. Never know.
Yeah,
Who knows?
I'd be willing to guarantee that will not be the case. And
But the Nylander clan, they'll say, oh, his points aren't half as good as what Willie does. It's like, okay.
yeah. Which, listen, there might be truth in that in some ways, but Reinhardt's got a ton of points.
Yeah.
And is playing great and went to a cup final last year and factored in on that. And, it's not a pitting 2 guys against each other. It's pointing out the ridiculousness of one situation compared to the other, where they're both going to be UFAs, both on good teams, both important players, both well-liked, both high picks. Reinhart went 2nd overall. Willie went 8th. Both in their late 20s.
Let's say we got to crunch the numbers and take a look at the comparables. And
I'll
we'll
bet
see
you
where
what will
he's
happen
at.
is Reinhart will sign there under the radar, probably 8 years at like 9, and that'll just happen one day. Maybe not. Maybe he leaves, but it wouldn't be shocking if it's like a 6-year deal, 7-year deal, 8-year deal.
I know, but I don't think
9,
Florida pays
8
him
million.
$9 million. They just gave Matthew Tkachuk an MVP of the league and their go-to guy 9.5.
Yeah.
They're not going to give Reinhart $9 million.
They may not. And maybe I don't think he's even worth $9 million.
He's at
'Cause-
6.5 now. Willie's at 6.9.
Yeah. So I would guess Reinhart will get to 8. He'll probably get to $8 million.
Why not? Yeah.
But he's not getting to 10 or 11 or Pasternak's deal.
I
or
know.
something
Not
like
with
that.
Florida.
Not with anybody.
I guess.
Nobody on
yeah.
earth is giving Sam
No
Reinhart
one, no one,
Pasternak's
no
deal.
one.
Nobody on earth is giving him Pasternak's deal.
If he can get 9,
Hashtag
there's the
Reinhardt
ceiling.
is Nylander and Einhorn is Finkel.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think Nylander's a better player personally, but it's, Reinhardt's having a great platform season on a really good team.
Yeah.
So take it for what it's worth. All right, Gerry's percentage is coming up. Overdrive continues, TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.
You're going to want to hear this.
Gerry's percentages.
I don't love being commissioner as much as I used to. I actually love it even more.
That's the voice of a Hall of Famer.
Are you kidding? Have you been out drinking?
You're all pigeons. Filthy, filthy pigeons.
It's Gerry. Gerry.
All right, Gerry's percentages, right? We got, I'm sure, a number of takes from Gerry. It's a busy time of year, U.S. Thanksgiving. Lots of games tonight. Gerry was sleeping yesterday. No games. Tomorrow, sleeping. But alive today and really fired up on Friday. So let's fire up Gerry. We got an opening statement. All right, you guys ready to hear from Gerry?
Let's hear it.
Gerry wants to begin by wishing everyone a happy U.S. Thanksgiving. Gerry's so thankful that the Stanley Cup has stayed below the 49th parallel for 30 years. And as long as Gerry's running the show, it will stay there for another 30.
That's gutless. I hate
just
those.
Doesn't want that cup coming up
It's
here, does
sickening, man. It really. You know how happy Gerry is too that
watching Edmonton. Do you think he likes it?
Oh, he loves that Edmonton's imploding. In Calgary had the start they did, in Ottawa, and you got Vegas, Seattle with the Winter Classic. Those jerseys though are so solid.
You like them?
They're outstanding.
Really?
I think the Kraken Winter Classic jersey is one of my 3 to 5 favorites of all time.
Really?
Dude,
Look
you're
at those
a
things.
Psychopath,
What?
Look how
man.
sick
like
that
in
is.
the
It's
past, you could have
fine.
easily said, "That's the most ridiculous."
No.
You're just like
No.
you just toss a coin up and say,
No, I don't. I love it's a taste. What do you mean I toss a coin up? It's a taste.
No, I think you like
Those
the
are
whole
great.
aesthetic, like the hipster guy with
Yeah.
the hoodie and the toque that's not covering his ears.
Well,
like,
that's
"Here's
like-
what I'll do for you."
That's true.
Casey.
The Vegas
What do
ones
you-
are pretty solid too. I like those.
What
too.
do you want on the jersey? I'll call Ronnie Francis to see if he can get me a Hazy B outdoor Kraken jersey.
That would be
Do
outstanding.
you want to see
Yeah, I think
You
I'd
want
like
to
to
see?
I'd like to see. I'd like to.
Hazy B and number 4,
Sure.
or just Hayes?
I think just Hayes because I want it classy. Hayes and either number 4, number 6. I was number 6 a lot as a kid.
What if Ronnie says you can't have the C?
I'll still
You
accept
ask for
it.
the C.
Ask for the C, but that might be pushing it. Don't push your luck. See what Ronnie has to say. I'd appreciate that greatly because it is great. It's a great look. I've always been a fan. People are saying.
Yeah.
All right, you guys ready for the takes?
Go ahead.
With the Oilers Gong Show continuing, the reality is setting in that none of the Western Canadian teams will make the Cup final this season.
Wrong. Wrong.
the Cup
wrong,
final.
Wrong.
Cup
I'm
final.
Wow.
I'm gonna go 30% because I'm giving my Vancouver Canucks a chance. What does Gerry think that the Oilers and Flames were the only chances to get to a Cup final?
What about Winnipeg? They count.
They
Winnipeg's
count
a good
too.
team.
You know what?
They're a
You
good
just
team.
bumped
Winnipeg
me
counts.
up another 15. I'm now at 45%.
All right.
That Winnipeg team, they keep just sucking me back in.
Mm-hmm.
I write them off, and then I'm like Hellebuck and Scheifele and Connor and Ehlers, and they just bring me back in.
What about your boy Adam Lowry? Hey, rocking the shirt jersey last night on Jay.
Yeah, what was that all about? I saw that. Sarah Oleski sent those. Is it like a charity thing or?
Me and Jay Onright love Adam Lowry,
Okay.
and Sarah Orleski is aware of that, and she sent us some Lowry
Nice.
T-shirts. So we
Awesome.
said we would do a Sports Center with Jay hit with the jerseys
I
on.
like it.
It was
That's
excellent.
a sharp look. Not as good as the Kraken, but close second.
I just can't believe the Kraken. Like
I
I love
love
it
that
too, but
Kraken.
I'm shocked you love that.
I like it. And I think the Vegas one looks good too.
Yeah,
you know, I've
they're
always
both
been an expansion
dynamite.
guy. I've always been a big fan of expansion
Anyway, I'm
teams.
45% because
Okay.
Edmonton, Calgary don't count out the other fellas
Mm-hmm.
out there.
None of the Western Canadian teams will make the Cup final.
Yeah.
I'm I don't know if I'm low on it or high. The language is weird on this.
Yeah, I guess you want to go the other way. Oh, you were 30%. You want to go down to 15 because you think Jerry's telling lies.
Regardless, I'm going to go to 10. Jerry's a liar.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, so I'm higher on this.
Yes. So am I.
Yeah, none of the Western Canadian teams will make the Cup final. I'm fairly certain of that. I'm probably going to be at 82%. Why do you
say that? Vancouver could get hot.
No.
Vancouver could
They're not
get
beating
hot.
Vegas, LA, Colorado.
Listen,
Dallas.
An idiotic thing to say.
No way.
It's an idiotic thing to say. Why?
Anyone not as good.
Anyone.
They're not as good.
They could. They very well could. They have a great goalie, and that goalie probably could win them a series, and so could Hellebuck with Winnipeg. But when it comes to Dallas, Vegas, and LA, and Colorado, I'm probably going to ride with those four over anyone in the western part of Canada.
Listen to the guy beside you. He says they're not as good. He says the Leafs better than a lot of everyone, but everyone they play against, they don't beat them. So there goes your theory there.
Okay.
That's a turkey comment.
You think Vancouver's better than Vegas? Best of 7 starting tonight. Who are you taking?
You know what? If Thatcher Demko is dialed in and they continue to play the way they are, with the 3 leading scorers in the league, they got a chance.
All right, so they got a chance to get Vegas.
Dunk.
All right, they got a chance.
I'm still giving them a chance.
I'm
still giving them a chance, just not a big chance.
All right.
Of course there's a chance.
As of now, they got to go through L.A. You got a chance. Then Vegas, chance. Colorado, no chance.
You got to do it sooner or later. Elias Pettersson's got to be the best player on the ice sooner or later.
Sure, but it's not only them. Winnipeg,
no,
same
you're just
thing.
Saying
Winnipeg,
there's no chance it'll happen.
I don't think it's going to. I'm high, 90%.
90%.
I don't think a Western Canadian team's getting there. Edmonton's not dead yet. I don't think they're going to make it now. I'm leaning towards them not making it. But if they got hot and got in, all bets would be off, depending on their goaltending. But I look at it as Vegas, Colorado, Dallas.
So you like Edmonton
LA.
because of Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl.
No,
Vancouver would smoke Edmonton right now in a series started right now.
I agree with that.
100%.
I don't disagree. I think Winnipeg would smoke them too. I think Calgary might win in a Game 7 right now.
LA's a good team, and Edmonton's looking for a goalie. Don't you think LA's going to be looking for a goalie?
Sure.
They're in their window. Cup or bust. I don't know. That's all we hear from Edmonton. They're kind of in that window right now too.
All right, Gerry. Let's move on.
John Rahm is pulling the chute on the PGA Tour and going for the money bag and jumping to live golf. Him and Greg Norman might have to go for walks on the beach. I wouldn't be caught dead doing that with old Greggy boy.
Yeah, that's a tough compare and contrast with the shark.
I don't think Gerry wants to be walking with the shark on the beach.
No, I don't think anybody's looking to do that.
I would just say I will wear a snowsuit, but I'll...
All right, Johnny Rahm pulling the chute. There's a lot of smoke out there. Is there
I think
fire?
There's so much smoke, it's true. Phil loves to blab and rat things out and let details get out. I think it's true.
It's a massive
and for
hit,
$600 million, man, it should be true.
Yeah, it can't be $600 million. That's there's no way he's getting $600 million. But
well, think about it. If it's even less, even if it's half, if it's $300 million, that doesn't change it. I'm
Hayes,
94%. 94%.
If you're Rahm and it's 400, aren't you saying to your wife this is $400 million. I'm out of here.
I agree. And listen, he allowed the other guys to take the bullets, right? DJ went, Koepka went, Phil went. Now everything's quieted. Rory's not on the board anymore. No one's talking about it. And he won the Masters. He's won a U.S. Open. Guy's got exemptions forever in terms of playing tournaments. And he's European. The PGA Tour is largely an American-run league. And Live Golf, has more of an international flair. I'm going to say 65%. It feels like it's moving in that direction. It would be a massive hit, though, for the PGA Tour. That's a guy, that's a top 3 player in the world in his prime. Koepka, when he left, he was injured. Phil's 50. DJ doesn't want to play anymore. Rahm is wow, you got Rahm. That's a big one, man. That is a monster if Rahm goes to Live Golf.
It's just weird too, because watching him this past year, I don't know, I saw him he's breaking clubs, he's swearing, they got the hot mic. It's what's really bothering this guy? There's something actually bothering him week in and week out. So it makes sense. Maybe he's going for something cushy, the money, the lifestyle, whatever.
Yeah,
it makes a lot of sense.
Cam Smith, those are legit studs that will be over at Live Golf if he ends up going.
Yeah.
Billy Nye the wrist shot guy is putting on an absolute clinic this season. And my guess is he hits 100 points for the first time in his career.
I'm low on that. I know he's been Mario Lemieux the first 17 games, but I think 100 points is a pretty big jump. Mitch Marner seems like a slam dunk to get 100, and he just can't, he gets 99, 97. I don't think he's going to get 100 points. Like, to be that game-breaking winger to get a hunch, it's quite a jump, and it's unreal. And I actually feel bad because I'm not downplaying anything awesome that Nylander is going to be. But when you bring back the Reinhart comparison, and people are going to come at me and say, William Nylander is 10 times better than Reinhart. Okay, maybe he is, but the points are the same, and the age is the same. Anyway, I'm getting off track. I am 20% on 100 points.
I'm probably a little higher than that, although I'm with you. Like, the Marner thing is a great comparable. Like, this guy's knocking on the door to 100 every year. He seems to not be able to get it done. Willie was 87.
What about the best player on the team, Frank?
No
Austin
kidding.
Matthews. How many times has he got a hunch?
I would
think only
that
once. When he won his heart, he had 100.
Like, he was 87 last year. He was 80 the year before that. I'm gonna give him a 39% chance. I'm a little higher than you.
Mm-hmm.
I would have thought coming into this year he was gonna eclipse 87, but that probably looked like 92. Maybe 95.
But
I think now I'm in
Nylander Nation, we'll call them the flock of seagulls.
Yeah, listen.
They all think it's automatic he's getting 100 points.
Maybe he gets 96 points. Maybe he does get 100, but that's why I'm at 39%. It could happen.
Yeah, I mean, also injuries can factor in. You hope that doesn't happen, knock on wood. But I'm going to say 51%. I'm into the majority now because they got 65 games left. He needs 73 points. That's not an outrageous rate. Like, he's banked 27. We talk about it all the time. Talking about it with Vancouver. They've banked the points. Now they can kind of cruise home. Willie's not far off where that power play is cooking. He's going to pick up points just by osmosis. You know, he's going to play with good players. He's playing with either Tavares or he's going to play with Matthews.
There's a new word, osmosis.
That's a great word. Scientific word. Very scientific. Yeah, 51%.
This guy Googles, by the way, he Googles words before the show, and he's like, I'm going to toss that one
I've heard
out
about
osmosis.
You know which one I like when he throws in capitulate?
Oh,
Capitulate is
God,
one of my favorite words.
Just
Capitulate
gets me
is the
every time.
Seattle Kraken winter classic jersey of words. It's a top 5 word ever.
This guy got a water filter installed,
No,
and he
here's
saw
one of
reverse
his- here's-
osmosis,
here's
and
his
he's like, I'm
Gretzky.
going to find a way to put that one in
There you
there.
go.
Here's
I like
his
it.
Gretzky word, nefarious.
I love nefarious.
Nefarious!
Nothing nefarious. Nothing nefarious about that.
Nefarious is so horny, man.
man.
Wow.
I love nefarious. Don't capitulate and never be nefarious.
He loves a tumultuous, too.
Tumultuous
Loves a
is good.
tumultuous.
I like
Oh,
tumultuous.
man.
It's a good word, man. These are all really strong words.
I was not expecting to hear osmosis.
Osmosis.
Today.
I don't even
really
know if I
wasn't.
applied it properly, but I think I did.
It's all good.
I think I did.
You're a
51%.
wordsmith.
All right, we'll come back with some more Gerry's, okay? Gerry's taking us all the way up to 6 o'clock. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. All right, Luke Wilson, Al's brother, coming up. Best Bets brought to you by FanDuel. A big anniversary in the NFL as well. We'll play it and we'll get into it. But Gerry's percentages was rolling along there. We decided, you know what, we got to take a breather here because Gerry is spitting absolute spicy takes. But now we've regrouped. We've recalibrated.
Nice.
Another word I love. Let's get to some takes from Gerry.
One of Bo Bichette or Vladdy Jr. will be playing elsewhere by the beginning of the 2025 season.
Man, there's some rumors out there that the Cubs are sniffing around Bo Bichette. They want to acquire him and play him at third base.
What?
Yes, that is trending. Like, we're talking MLB Network discussing it. That and I think Scott Mitchell, our own Scott Mitchell, tweeted out earlier. I don't want to grease him on how he phrased it, but something along the lines of like he wouldn't be shocked or surprised if Bichette got traded at some point. He's not saying in the next 24 hours or even the next month or two.
So a team that can't hit in critical scenarios are going to move away from Bichette? Am I missing something? Unless they're bringing in some monsters like Ohtani.
Yeah, but why would Ohtani want to come here without Bichette?
No
You
kidding.
know, like you want to go somewhere and win, and Bo's kind of the leader of this team right now. I think it says something about how the rest of the league feels about Bichette playing short that maybe the Jays agree with, but they're not sure how to handle it, that the Cubs would want to acquire him and play him at third. But I thought he had a pretty decent year defensively at short. Like he wasn't a mess. I thought he improved greatly this past year.
What's the percentage that both of them are on the team?
No, either one of Vladdy or Bo by the beginning of the 25 season, not this upcoming year, but the beginning of the next season will not be with the Jays.
I am going to say 80%. I just think things change in baseball, man.
Mm-hmm.
They really do. Like, you can get a hate on for a guy pretty quickly,
Yeah.
even when you love them. I'm going to say 80%.
I'm lower. I'm probably 45%. Like this management group has just kind of shown that they're willing to stick with guys, and like they scolded Anthopoulos because they kind of like he didn't have the cupboards full. I don't know. I feel like they're going to stick by their guys.
Yeah. Now their deals are up after 25, right? Bichette signed the 3-year deal to get through arbitration. Vladdy arbitration rights through 25. That is an important date. Like, if they don't feel they can lock these guys up or one of them, they'll move on one of them. So I'm going to say 70%, not so much that they necessarily would want to, that they might feel they have to because they might leave for nothing anyway. And, you know, if you go another season and it's disappointing, Vladdy didn't have a great year this year. Like, he really didn't. If he has another year like that, why are you committing to him for the next decade? I'm not sure they will. But these Bichette rumors are interesting, man. Like, a lot of people are bracing for the Jays to do something. That would be something significant. Gerry's percentages. Gerry's After Dark in about an hour. Final hour coming up. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050, soon to be up on TSN 2.